What's up, people? This is All Eyes on Cleveland. Tonight, we are hitting you with a free agency files edition. The one and only Terrance Money Mitchell is up, and we're going to hit that tonight. A couple of things off the top. Big week. We are a week away from the legal tampering period beginning in free agency, which should be a lot of fun. Look for some restructures possibly coming this week. I would think that maybe Sheldon Richardson might get restructured. That's something to keep your eye on for sure. And we may even do a little segment sometime this week, maybe tomorrow, on the actual restructuring itself and how that's going to work out. His is a little more complicated, but you're going to see a lot of guys restructuring. And when you see that restructure, just remember like 95% of the time that they're restructuring their deals, they're not going to be taking less money. People are going to be taking guaranteed money, converting it to signing bonuses, which then allows them to spread that payment out over the length of the contract or even sometimes void years in the contract, which will lower their cap hit for this year, 2021, where they were expecting the salary cap to be lower between 100 and 185 million dollars. Wednesday this week, I will be we'll have a live show, Discord, AMA, Ask Me Anything, Browns Discord, Cleveland Browns Discord. Go on there. You can join. Go into the Breadboard AMA file and leave your questions. I will answer all questions on Wednesday night. That'll be fun. We're going to have Jake Burns and Jeff Risdon stopping by on Thursday for our free agency primer. So the man, the smartest guy in Cleveland, Jake Burns, is going to join us. We're going to talk all about free agency and what's coming next week, as well as Jeff Risdon, the guy, my guy over at the Browns Wire, the head managing editor over there, going to stop by too. So big week leading into next week, which will be even bigger. We've got lots of stuff there. As far as Rashard Higgins goes, today I heard a lot of talk on the radio about $7 to $9 million, and that's how much he's worth, and the Browns can't match that, this, that, and the other. I think that on this market, something that you have to remember, it's a depressed market, and it's a market that is going to have a ton of wide receivers available. So right now, like free agency, there's so many good wide receivers available in free agency. In the draft, this is another draft, second draft year in a row, where there is tons of good wide receivers available in the draft. So that is something that you're going to have to remember when it comes to the value of these free agents. And a guy like Rashard Higgins, I think you're more talking in like the $3 to $5 million range. 7 to 9 seems way, way, way too high. And I heard Bull and Fox or Peterlin, my guy Jay Peterlin, who's been on the show many times, talking with Dustin Fox today on the radio about that. And I wanted to reach out and say that that's a crazy high number. That's not legitimate, probably, for Higgins. I don't think anybody's going to offer him between $7 and $9 million this season. So just wanted to hit on that real quick. We're going to turn our attentions to Terrance Money Mitchell, as he is a free agent this year, was very valuable to the Cleveland Browns last year, and we're going to hit on all of that. If any of you saw the article today that was out at the Browns Wire, you can go check that out and kind of follow along with what we're doing here. But this is maybe, 7, 8, 9 in my free agency files. So we're going to hit on this tonight and talk about Money Mitch. Love Money Mitch. Browns, as we know, lost two guys right away in the training camp 2020 within minutes of each other. Grant Delpit, second-round rookie safety, goes down. Second-year cornerback Greedy Williams goes down minutes later. Injuries ended up costing them both their season. Huge lift for the Browns from their ability to call on Terrance Money Mitchell to fill in for Greedy Williams. and maintain a starter's level of play. Because Mitchell has been able in his 3 years, and he spent 3 years in Cleveland now, $10 million deal, 3 years. He filled his obligation all 3 years and has filled in admirably at times in all 3 seasons for starters, and played at a starting level. He's played at a starting level all 3 years. And for that, he's very valuable. That's tough to come by in the NFL. Often being called on to fill in for starters Denzel Ward and Williams, he consistently performed adequately in their absence. He proved he could be counted on and remained available when the team could not afford to lose anyone else. So their best ability is availability at times, and he certainly was that. Not only did Mitchell play well in 2020, but he also proved to be incredibly durable, he graded out at a 68.2 over a Pro Football Focus, which ranks him 35th out of 121 qualifying corners. You see the numbers here, 35 out of 121. You see his grades here. His run defense grade was very high, 76.8. Some of that probably comes from his 4 forced fumbles. 4 forced fumbles from Terrance Money Mitchell in 2020. His coverage grade, 65.3. That it's not terrible, pretty good. 68.2 is a good number to put up for him. If as you see his career numbers, these seasons are a little skewed because he wasn't getting very in the 15 and 16. But in 18, 17 with the Chiefs, and then 18, 19, and 20 with the Browns, he put up at PFF. While proving, this is shocking, and I kind of stumbled across this number, and I tweeted it out the other. A lot of you have already seen this. While proving to be in Williams' absence, Mitchell ended the 2020 season with an impressive 1,225 snaps played. Now, that's including the playoffs. He played more snaps than any other cornerback in the entire NFL. So if you see here, Browns free agent quarterback Terrance Money Mitchell played more snaps than any other cornerback in the NFL. Second, I think, was like Carlton from the Super Bowl winning Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Carlton Mitchell, and those guys, obviously played in 2 more games than Money Mitch did, but he still played more snaps than anybody else in the league this year at cornerback. At Mr. Reloaded is his Twitter handle. 28-year-old Mitchell was excellent in run support, holding his own in coverage, recorded 65 tackles, 4 forced fumbles. So he's going to enter the free agent. They haven't worked out a deal with him, so he's going to market unless somehow they come to a deal with him in the coming days. I think that if he was a priority guy, they would have already come to a deal with him at this point. Anybody that's a free agent for the Browns is going to see the open market, I would probably guess. I know that, they're talking, we got yesterday about Higgins, and that they're kind of far apart in negotiations, the Browns and Higgins, and that may be he may have to go test the market his real value is before he finds it. So, back to Mitchell, though, Terrance Mitchell. $10 million, 3-year deal, played all 3 years, $10 million. So that's and he was excellent. Started all 16 games this year. Here are his grades real quickly. PFF, you see all the snaps that he played, including the wild card game and divisional playoff game. That's how he played more snaps than anybody. Here are his game grades. If you look at, real quickly, if we want to look at some of his better coverage games, Cincinnati, he had an excellent game against the Jets. All pretty good here. Tough game against Baltimore, tough game against Tennessee in coverage. At Pittsburgh the first time, who didn't have a bad game then, and at Baltimore the first time, who everybody had a bad game then. So you kind of see there that trend. Here's the ranking, and you see Denzel Ward there ranked 23rd, right, out of 121 qualifying corners. Mitchell 35th. So pretty dang good. I mean, that's starting caliber stuff, right? 1,225 snaps played, more than any other cornerback in the NFL. Shocking. Here's that list. Carlton Davis, pardon me, not Mitchell, of Tampa Bay. Malcolm Butler, Sean Murphy Bunting, those guys that played in the Super Bowl played a couple extra games. As you see here, Troy Hill on that list, Tre'Davious White, Patrick Peterson, Jalen Ramsey, among good company as guys that played a ton of snaps, but there he is at the top. 796 snaps in coverage, 1,225 total. Moving on, Spot Track. Here's the contract that he was under. He hit, got his roster bonus, his signing bonus initially. $3.5 million was guaranteed at signing when he signed on, and then he gets an annual workout bonus of $1,000. Got probably paid the whole 10 mil there, 4.5 guaranteed in total, but probably 10 million there, 3-year deal. Okay, so here are some of the statistics. Pardon me. You're watching All Eyes on Cleveland Free Agent Files with Terrance Money Mitchell. 16 games started this year. Played 99.4% of the snaps, 4 forced fumbles, career highs in tackles, 65 tackles. There you see he had that good year, 53 tackles in Kansas City. And before that, you see how the playing time drew, why those numbers are skewed a little bit there. Let's get to his market value, okay? So this is from Pro Football Network, and I just kind of want to talk about this kind of statement here. Pro Football Network, and they do a good job. Terrance Mitchell might have priced himself out of Cleveland in free agency is the title here. And I just grabbed this because it says right here, I kind of missed the bottom of it there. Sorry about that. Due to injuries ahead of Grady Williams, Denzel Ward, Mitchell stepped in and played well on the perimeter. Mitchell, 29, coming up on the end of a 3-year, $10 million deal. Wants to get paid starter money, would likely need to land somewhere else, as he is a clear cornerback 3 in Cleveland. However, you can't have enough cornerbacks, and with nickel coverage a staple, look to retain him. So here's where I take issue with that statement, and this is nothing against Pro Football Network, but it's something that is worth pointing out when you're talking about the value of Terrance Money Mitchell. Mitchell can't play or does not play in the slot. He doesn't play in the nickel. So if we take a look here across his games, and this is just to highlight that real quickly, here's the wide corner and the slot corner, as you can see here. 164 snaps out wide, 7 in the slot, 394 out wide, 41 in the slot, 261 out wide, 14 in the slot, and 178 out wide, 7 in the slot. Then this year, 652 out wide, 10 in the slot. So he does not play in the slot. He's not a slot cornerback. One of the issues that the Browns have had, and one of the things that people have been able to say since he's been here is, and it's kind of unfortunate, it was always kind of an unfortunate thing that got said sometimes when it came to him and his value, is that people would say, well, you can't put all your 3 best corners on the field at the same time. So you can't put Denny and Money Mitch on the field at the same time. You just can't do it. And that's unfortunate when you want to be able to say, oh, I can put my 3 best corners out on the field. Well, you could never do that with Terrance Mitchell because he's always just an out wide guy. He doesn't really have the versatility to go inside and play in the slot. So you have to address that position all together separately with last Kevin Johnson. We'll be back. Real quick break here. And boom, we break from your normal broadcast to bring you this message of All Eyes on Cleveland, supported by Manscaped. Now, Manscaped has hooked me up. They hooked Mikey up. I got the t-shirt going. Manscaped, your balls. Well, thank you. I hear a pair of high-performance boxer briefs as well, which are truly amazing. And all these grooming goodies helps trim your junk and keep it dry, clean, and wonderful for the ladies. And the ladies love a trimmed man. I mean, you wear the shirt around, you know that they're going to know what's going on. Mikey hasn't taken his shirt off yet, I don't think. Have you? Yeah. The all deodorant is a absolute incredible idea. I mean, for years and years, deodorant on our armpits and our balls. Why not? They should be putting deodorant on your balls. Should have been doing this since the beginning of time. Around the boys, and as Mikey has been raving about for days, you trim around the tree, it stands a little taller, and he's very, very happy with his results. Your balls. Well, thank you. Manscaped has the best trimmer in the business, Lawn Mower 3.0, third generation trimmer, cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. And 2 free gifts: a pair of high performance Manscaped boxer briefs. Amazing. I mean, seriously, these boxer briefs are tremendous. Unbelievable. Best pair of boxers I own. Immediately when I put them in my dresser. Sure. Manscaped, refining the gentleman. Get 20% off free shipping when you use the promo code EYES, EYEZ, at manscaped.com. Now back to All Eyes on Cleveland, presented by Manscaped. And what a commercial shot by Mikey and myself there for Manscaped. So, go to the bottom down below if you're interested in Manscaped. Check it out. 20% off using the promo code EYES. It's down below. Hit the subscribe button also there if you're watching on YouTube. And you can go down in the YouTube description and take advantage of hitting that link and going and checking out any of Manscaped's incredible products. A fun time as me and Mikey shot that incredible commercial for you here on All Eyes on in Cleveland. Let's get back to what we were talking about here with Terrance Money Mitchell not being able to play in the slot, and that being a problem because the Browns could never put their 3 best corners on the field. So if we were to take a look a little closer here at some things. All right. We've got that very clear. Here is his profile for his free agency. Out of the top 200 free agents at PFF, he was ranked 107. They have his projected contract at 2 years, $4 million a year. Okay, it's pretty reasonable, I think. For Mitch, played a career high number of snaps in 2020 by some distance. All stuff that we talked about there. Mitchell was beaten for 5 touchdowns and a passer rating of 100. Most teams would not view him as a starter, but he is the type of player that can hold up if injuries strike, and there is value to that. And clearly the Browns know the value to that. Now, I think he thinks he's a starter, and I think he could be a starter somewhere. But here's where the Browns have to draw the line in the sand. So let's talk about Greedy Williams, right? So this week he announced that he's coming back. He should be percent. I guess they said that the actual nerve damage, it's a pretty long story. You can read about it multiple places, but he finally got that nerve to respond. So he will be coming back for this season, should be ready for camp. But this is not a guy that you can just pen into your depth chart, I don't think, as your starting corner. I think you have to be careful with that, right? So with that in mind, Mitchell gives you some value. I would bring him back probably on a 1-year deal for $4 million or $5 million, and I would have a problem with that because he provides you the ability to play at a starter's level for either of those guys if they get dinged. Now, if that's with my plan of getting better in the slot by taking that $3.5 million contract you gave Kevin Johnson and upgrading big to a guy like Troy Hill or Brian Poole or Mike Hilton, top of the line slot corner guy, right? That gets your secondary better. I also think they address safety because they're going to be playing with 3 safeties on the field a lot. I think they go to guy there. And maybe you take a couple corners in the draft mid-rounds along with adding back Mitch and maybe another veteran. And I think you're okay at corner. Now, that's my approach towards things, but they may approach this differently and think they need to get a lot better at corner on the outside, which I don't think that is necessarily the case because you can't just, like I said, it's tricky because you can't just ink in Greedy's name here. So I would bring him back on a 1-year deal up to $5 million or a 2-year deal, $6 million, maybe give him $2 million in incentives if he ends up starting like 10 games or playing over 700 snaps or 600 snaps. He gets, an extra $1 million each year. I would give him the 3 guaranteed. You can structure this in a way where he gets that all up front, and he's only a cap hit this year for like $1 million or $2 million because you give him that $3 million guarantee up front and the signing bonus, put the rest of it next year, and maybe like $1 million or whatever his base would be this year, which is how teams are going to restructure all these contracts, but it was how you would restructure anybody's contract or structure anybody's contract that you're signing to. You're going to put the guaranteed money in a signing bonus so it can spread it out over the length of the years. You can put void years even on that contract to make the payment even smaller, the cap hit even smaller in 2021 because of the reduced overall cap. And it would only cost you a couple $1 million against your cap to bring him back. That's if he would accept this range that we're looking at right here. 2 to 6, 2 years, $8 million, 2 years, $6 million, or 1 year, $5 million. You can give him the 3 up front and spread it out over the 2 years, and then he's only costing you, $3 million this year, right? Even though you're paying him 1 year, $5 million because of a signing bonus. That's how you could structure that and keep his cap hit low. If you could do that, if he agrees to that, I'm all for the Browns bringing him back. Here's the problem. If you want your number 1 depth guy to probably be able to play inside and outside, like I was talking about, so say they go get a slot guy and he gets dinged. Now, instead of having to fall back last year to MJ Stewart, who made some big plays for the Browns, but let's be honest, is short and slow and not a very good player, or Tavier Thomas, who is a special teams player, those guys were taking significant snaps in the nickel in the slot because of the lack of depth so is it more useful to potentially have a guy that can do both? Well, I did the work. Let's take a look. William Jackson, he's a high profile guy. He's a good corner. He's an outside guy. 3 years, $13 million. Richard Sherman, no thank you. Desmond King, purple means slot. He plays slot only. He's a nickel corner. Mike Hilton, I love, but I love him for our nickel spot. Shaq Griffin, he's going to play outside most of the time. $11 million a year, no thank you. Troy Hill, guy I talked about in the Kevin Johnson video, but he's a guy I would want to start at your nickel, but he can do both. Before Jalen Ramsey came, he played outside and did well, as you can see by his 19 and 18 grades. He can do both. He has that versatility to play in the nickel, be your starting slot guy, and if you have an injury, he can slide outside. Owuzie, no thank you. You see his grade there. He's coming off an injury. Brian Poole, slot only guy. I like him to take over Kevin Johnson's position, but not for this role, which is a depth role. Quentin Dunbar outside. Xavier Rhodes outside primarily. Ronald Darby outside primarily. Jason Verrett. Keep an eye on this name. Only reason why, San Francisco. Okay? I think he missed. He was hurt the year that Joe Woods was there, but keep an eye on it. Patrick Peterson, I kicked the tires on it, $12.5 million, but he's outside only. Nicole Roby-Coleman, inside primarily. Mackenzie Alexander, inside primarily. K'Wan Williams, inside primarily. Gary Conley, not living up to the bill, outside primarily. Brashad Breeland, a guy I would really consider at depth on the outside, but outside only. Here we go. Cameron Sutton, Pittsburgh, like those grades, 30th overall cornerback, small deal, 1 year, $2.75 million or whatever you need to negotiate with him, can play inside and outside. Has great upside, too. Versatility to play in the slot or out wide. He's one slot above Terrance Mitchell, 95th overall. Mitchell, 107. Mitchell going to be worth more on the open market, but Sutton is a guy I would look hard at if I'm the Browns. That versatility is huge when it comes to your depth guys. AJ Boye falling off. Michael Davis, Kevin King had a terrible year. Rasul Douglas, not very good grades. Here's a guy I would be interested in, but he's primarily outside guy, Akilu Witherspoon. Also a guy that, as you can see, has been in San Francisco. They had high hopes for him. If you remember in their Super Bowl year, he lost his job on the outside, but bounced back huge this year with the overall cornerback grade. This is a guy for 1 year. I would sign him up for depth. He's going to be cheaper than Money Mitch. If you need somebody to play on the outside only and provide you depth, this is maybe a guy that you could sign to a 1 year deal or a 2 year deal with an option to get out after 1 year. Put $2 million of that in the signing bonus, and you're going to owe him $1.5 million this year, cap hit, to bring in a guy that scored 80 overall in 300 snaps outside that teams had high hopes for, and Joe Woods is familiar with, and he's familiar with our scheme. I put a check mark next to him. Keelu Witherspoon. Jason McCourty, we've been down that road. He's falling off, but he does have the versatility to play in and out and safety. He can play all over the field. Here's a guy that I like for Browns depth. Darqueze Dennard. Played with Atlanta last year. He's 29 years old. He can play in the slot, and he can play outside. If Greedy gets dinged, if Denzel gets dinged, he can sub in there. If your guy that you bring in, say it's Mike Hilton or Troy Hill or Brian Poole in my world, fantasy world, that's your starting corner, he gets dinged for a game, he can go in there and play. He's your fourth best guy, but he can play no matter where you need him because of injury. That's something that brings value to the table that Money Mitch doesn't bring to the table. DJ Hayden, outside guy. Here's the last guy that I referenced in the article, Jordan Lewis, okay, from Dallas. Poor grade here. But this guy, third-round pick, former third-round pick, 25 years old still. Young guy, still getting it. You see that in 600 snaps in 2019, he had a good grade. In 200 snaps, he had an even better grade the year before that. Had a rough year last year. Dallas' defense was terrible, but this is a guy that can play in the slot and out wide. Gives you a lot more value than what than what Terrance Money Mitchell can give you. Now, I'm all for them bringing Terrance Money Mitchell back. We know about TJ Carey. I don't want to bring TJ Carey back, but he is a guy that's versatile enough to do that. And Corn Elder is a strictly slot guy there. So that's your cornerback group. Guys I'm interested in that can do just the outside of Keela Witherspoon, Brashad Breeland. Those guys interest me a little bit as depth pieces. I'd be surprised. This cornerback class is not very good. This cornerback free agency class is not very good, except at the slot. Like Hilton and Poole. Those are my guys. I want one of those three. It only cost you a couple $1 million over what you paid for Kevin Johnson to upgrade that position. Huge. Slot nickel position is a gigantic position on your defense. I mentioned this to Spot Track's founder, Mike Giannetti, when he was on the show last week. He said the Bears do this every year. They go out and get the top nickel guy, slot corner on the market every year. Because it's cheap enough to do, because they don't get valued more than $6-7 million tops. Probably 6 this year per year. You just paid 3.5 to a guy who did a terrible job. You take $2 million more and you get one of the best guys in the league. That improves your defense incredibly on the cheap. One of the Browns' guardrails is don't pay for depth. But I'm sorry, you're going to have to address depth this year if you're not bringing Money Mitch back on the outside. But one way you can do that with a little more value, if you're going to pay somebody $3 million a year, I'd be more apt to do that to somebody that can play inside and outside. I guess that's my only point there. Terrance Money Mitchell, I'd be all for bringing back. No question about it. He has proved his worth to the Browns. But when you're talking about spending that money there, I'd be more willing to do so with a guy who is more versatile, right? More versatile. So if Money Mitchell come back on a $3-5 million one-year deal, I'm all for it. If he'll come back on a 2-year deal with some incentives for maybe like $6 million, incentives get him to $8. Put some of that, the guaranteed money in the signing bonus. He's only a couple $1 million cap hit this year, and that's huge for the Browns. So they could bring back some depth. On the cheap, a guy who's already familiar, we know can perform at a starter's level. He may want more money than that. He played at a starter's level. He can command more money than that. I don't know if he'll get it this year. This is a bad year for free agents. It's going to be tough. A lot of guys are going to just take one-year deals and then come back next year when the TV money hits. And we expect that cap, after talking to Mike Giannetti last week and talking to Greg Tomsett, two capologists, that we expect that money to hit, and it's going to balloon right back up in 2022. So nobody's going to want to take this offseason to negotiate their long-term deal. It's about being flexible and taking. Will Money Mitch's guy be open to that? I don't know. They haven't come to an agreement with him yet. Monday is the day. I'm excited. We're going to be there. Look for later this, okay? Later this week, we got, of course, the man, smartest guy in Cleveland football. Jake Burns is going to be on. Going to get you Jeff Risdon. Free agency primer later this week here on All Eyes on Cleveland. Stay tuned for that. Make sure you hit subscribe below so that you know every time we're coming on the air giving you fantastic content. Make sure you go down below and take care of that Manscaped. Get that Manscaped 20% off. Use the promo code EYES, EYE. And Wednesday night this week. It's a busy week. We're getting ready for free agency. AMA, Ask Me Anything, Browns Discord. It's on my timeline. You can hit the Discord. You can join. Put your questions in there. We're going to answer all those questions. Free agency questions, draft questions, whatever you got. We're going to answer them all on Wednesday night. Live. Browns Discord. First ever AMA. I'm honored. I'm honored they asked me. Thank you guys for joining. Please hit the subscribe button. Keep All Eyes on Cleveland. It's going to be a fun free agency. Okay? Keep your eyes out for some restructures here. So look for the Browns to get from maybe 20 million cap to like 25, 28 million before Monday. And then we'll start to see some of those deals come in. I expect to see some impact deals on the defensive side of the ball. Should be a lot of fun. Got to get that defense better. It's all about that right now for the Brownies. Speed receiver, too. Of course, speed receiver. And we'll see what happens with Higgins and guys like Money Mitch, but it should be an interesting free agency. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe. For Mikey on the ones and twos, my name is Brad Ward. This has been another edition of All Eyes on Cleveland Free Agency Files. We are out.